just need to figure out how to change the slides. Okay, so I put this slide here before I start my presentation because this is kind of what I go by, and this is the motto of Dream Smart Tutors, really. It's all about dreaming big, thinking smart, working smart, and always inspiring other people. Okay, so let's talk a bit about my career journey. So I went to a state school or comprehensive school, so it's publicly funded. And through that school, I felt that I didn't have many opportunities really to get into a competitive degree, competitive program such as medicine. However, I did get into UCL and I graduated in 2013 and began my career as a doctor. I started working as a foundation doctor. I'm not sure how many of you do know because it's more of a global seminar. In the UK, you graduate, your medical degrees, average duration about 5 years. And then once you complete that, you're a doctor. And then you have to do 2 years working in the NHS, and that's foundation training. So you do FY1 and FY2. So I did that. I think at this point, it's probably good to stop and just talk about some of the lessons that I learned along the way. So looking at my state school education, like I said, I didn't have access to many opportunities, although it wasn't, the worst school, but obviously it wasn't like some of the better schools that we have in the UK, independent private schools who have the opportunities and the people around the students to really support them to get into competitive courses like medicine. So for me, I always wanted to be a doctor, and having a focus, which we can see as lesson number 1, really helped me kind of strive and do the best that I could, even in an environment such as the school that I was in and even the wider area that I grew up in, really. I think I was quite fortunate in the sense that I always knew who I was. I always knew my personality. And I think that's one of the things I would say to you. If you're not sure the type of person you are or what your strengths or weaknesses are, I would say that you really need to kind of look into that now, whatever stage you're at, because you need to really know yourself. And also that will help you in terms of doing carving out your own career, whether that's a portfolio career, whether that's a medical career, or even a non-medical career, whatever career path that you want to undertake, it's really important that you know who you are. Work smart. So I think I worked really hard, which you have to work really hard to get into medicine or any profession, high pressured environment, and working as a doctor. But I feel that I worked too hard. Looking back, I feel like I could have worked much smarter in terms of my study methods, in terms of who I had around me, in terms of study groups, etc. So that's what I would say. I would say there are so many different things that you can use to make sure that you really excel in your studies or in your medical training. So try and endeavor to work smart versus slogging all these hours when really you don't have to be doing that. Stay positive. I often talk to many people about how I'm not the most positive of people, but over the years I have learned that actually you need to be really, really positive. It's about having a positive mindset, and this way you can really overcome a lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles along your way. So having a positive mindset is really crucial to career success. And don't worry, again, looking back, I'm naturally a worrier anyway, but looking back, I feel like I worried about so many little things when really I could have spent so much of my time enjoying life. So please, things generally do work out in the end and on the most part. So please don't worry. I think, often in life, we spend a lot of time just worrying about loads of things that really aren't important. So especially in medicine. So please try not to worry too much about things. I'm sure wherever you are on your journey, you're doing just fine. And speak up more. That goes for you as a person, whether you see something that is affecting you that's not quite right, or even in medicine, there are certain cultures that exist, and I'm sure that that goes across and transcends across countries, across continents. And so it's important that you speak up for your peers, you speak up for your colleagues, and I think that's how we can initiate change. So I would always say speak up more, try to I know there are many personalities out there and some people are very shy, but honestly, I think it's important for the greater good, to help your colleagues, to help people coming after you. If you speak up when you see things, whether that's something that's not quite right or something that's just completely wrong, I think it's important to speak up and give feedback. So for instance, if you're on a placement and it's not quite right, or you didn't get the support that you need, it's really important that you speak up and you give that feedback so that people can change things. So these are just a few lessons. I could talk much longer about this part, but I feel these are some of the lessons at this stage that I wanted to share with you. So during my foundation training, I was a bit disillusioned, really. So I had an idea of what a doctor was. Of course, I went to medical school and I was on the wards and I was in the hospitals and had clinical placements, and I saw the foundation doctors and the consultants working. But I feel like there were just many things I didn't know and I didn't understand until I started working as a doctor, good and bad. So towards the end of my second year, I was, I'm sure you can imagine working as a doctor, especially as a junior doctor, working long hours. I felt that I was burnt out. I felt that I was exhausted emotionally, mentally, physically, you name it. I was just tired. And so towards the end of my second year, I became physically ill. I had, I think, a stomach bug or something like that. And that forced me to stop and have a look at where I was on my career path. And it was at that point that before then, I actually considered taking a year out of training, which most people do anyway. So it's quite a normal thing now, or becoming more normal to do. And it was at that point that I decided to just take a break and just reevaluate where I was. I thought maybe medicine wasn't the career for me. I felt very lost. And this is coming from someone who wanted to be a doctor since they were 4 or 5 years old. So for me, I felt like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I've spent all this time, working really hard. I'm now a doctor, but this is not really how I envisioned it. So I took some time out to really just rediscover some of the things that I had put to one side, really. Things like, writing. I used to love writing poetry and I just stopped doing that. And poetry was very therapeutic for me. So I tried to rediscover some of the things that I kind of fell in love with and that I really enjoyed. And I just took some time out for myself. And it was at that point that I realized that actually I still want to be a doctor. The passion was still there, the passion for learning, the passion for helping other people, and doing that through medicine. And so I thought, well, okay, so I still want to be a doctor. How am I then going to go back into the NHS, into this system that I feel is the problem? So the problem is not me, it's what is I'm in. It's the system I'm in. So I thought, well, okay, I had a look at some specialties and I saw that they were general practice. And like most medics, when you're in medical school, you don't really consider general practice or family medicine. It's a career that often many people kind of talk negatively about. And I don't know why, because I feel like it's a great career, which I'll probably talk about later. But I didn't really consider it. I considered kind of every other specialty other than general practice. And it was during my year out that I thought, actually, general practice suits my personality. It suits some of the things that I feel that I can achieve and I want to achieve in medicine. I feel like I can be the doctor that I want to be and that I can be in general practice. So I chose general practice and I applied to the GP training program and got a place, and it was 3 years. And then I qualified last year and started my journey as a GP. So if we just look at this part of my life, the first thing I want to share with you is that it is okay to feel lost. We don't always have the answers, it's not always going to be a linear trajectory. There are going to be times when we question the decisions that we make, but that's okay. And sometimes we have to stop and we have to reevaluate things. And then sometimes it works out for the better. So if you are feeling lost at this point, or you're feeling unsure for, even if it's not just about medicine, it could be about something completely different. It's okay. We don't always have to be put together and everyone looks successful, but there are many times when they've had failures on their path. So it's okay to feel lost if you feel lost at this particular point in time. One of the things that I did when I was taking my year out of training was networking, and networking is very, very important. In medicine, we often get lost in this medical bubble. We become, I like to say, institutionalized. And we often forget that there is a whole world out of medicine. And the first time I really networked was when I did my BSc. So I took a year out of training, which was out of my medical school training, which was compulsory at the time, to do another degree. And it was at that time that I joined loads of other societies, non-medical societies, and I made loads of friends who were studying humanities subjects, and I really found that my horizons were broadened. And that was the first time I really networked. And the second time I networked was during my year out of training, where I went to loads of non-medical events and medical events, and I just had conversations with people. And for me, I like talking to people, and probably why I like general practice so much is because I like to hear people's stories. When I was at medical school, I would hang around with some of the graduates because they had these such amazing lives before they became medics. They had these careers and they had all these jobs, and I had just gone from school to medical school, and I felt I was very boring. So I love to hear people's stories. And when you network, you do, yes, you've developed loads of skills, but you also meet loads of different people and you can learn from them, and also you create contacts. And I'm sure you've all heard of that saying where your net worth is your network, and that is so true. So my top tip here, and one of the lessons that I've learned, is to network and also to seek out opportunities. In recent years, I've had a lot of opportunities come to me, like this amazing conference, but in the beginning, it wasn't always like that. No one really knew who I was. I didn't have a big social media. Well, I still don't have a big social media presence, but I didn't have a big social media presence. I certainly didn't have the followers that I had or the connections that I have now. And so I would spend time, especially with my writing, I would spend time submitting loads of different articles, reading loads of different articles, surveys, research, and just submitting things to loads of different places. And that's how I basically started my writing career. It was through seeking out opportunities, emailing people, connecting with people. That's where my kind of portfolio career started to come about, because I would actively seek out opportunities. So that's what I would say to you. Send emails out, put yourself forward for things, because actually that's how you're going to develop your career and create that career that you want for yourself. Opportunities in the beginning don't necessarily come to you. So I would say you have to actively go out and search for them. Be creative. Again, goes back to being a medic. We often get lost in this medical bubble, but some of us, or a lot of us actually, which I found over the years, is that we are very creative people. We have to have all these extracurricular activities and hobbies to get into medical school. And then when we get into medical school, or when we become a doctor, we kind of lose all of this. But actually being creative, I would argue, helps you to be a better doctor. It helps you have that time away to, recharge and regenerate yourself so that you can help and truly help other people. If you're constantly doing one thing, for me, I get bored quite easily, which is why I have a portfolio career. I love this variety. If I was even just doing writing or even just doing speaking, I think I would just be bored and I wouldn't give it my all. Whereas when I have a number of different things always on the go, I feel that I can give my best and I'm always refreshed and recharged. So being creative, like even having my YouTube channel, that actually helps me, be a better doctor or be a better writer or be a better speaker. So I would say be creative. And if you're not naturally creative, I would say choose one thing that you would say is creative and try and invest some time in developing that. Enjoy life. I spent a lot of my year out of training being a bit grumpy, really. I felt lost. I was depressed. I was like, where am I going with my career? I joined LinkedIn. I could see all these people on LinkedIn with all these like amazing CVs. And I was just thinking, gosh, where am I going? And actually, I could have spent the majority of that year just enjoying where I wasn't, or where I wasn't going. So I think sometimes we just get caught up in success. We always want to have this idea of what is successful in our heads, and then we just forget to be in the present. And one of the things I say to people is that you should just be in the present. And I often have to remind myself, be in the present, enjoy where you're at the moment. Life is a journey. It's not a sprint. It's not a race. It's a marathon. Maybe, you have to just take your time, enjoy where you're at, and don't compare yourself to other people. Upskill. Again, I would say, you don't really know sometimes where your career is going to take you, but building skills along the way, whether that's, with formal qualifications, I would say is really important to help you. Because even say, for instance, you left medicine, which is okay to do, we can change careers. You will have developed so many skills that you can take to something else. So I would always say upskilling and developing your skills, developing your CV, developing your portfolio is something that you should always do. and always try and contribute to society. That's something I've always tried to do, whether that's through volunteering, whether that's through my company. I always try and be a positive member of society. And so that's what I would say to you. You can be, of course, a positive member of society being a doctor, but outside of medicine, I would argue that you should still try and contribute in some way. That's just my opinion. You may not agree, but I would say always try and look for things where you can always give back, even if it's something small, because we're all busy. But even if it's something small, even if it's just giving up an hour out of your week, I would say always try and be that positive person in the world. Okay, that's enough now. So yes. So I'm just looking at the time. I think that was probably perfect timing. um, in terms of final words of advice, I think I've covered everything really. I would just say be kind to yourself, because often we are very hard on ourselves, especially as medics. We have this type A personality. We are perfectionists. We want to be the best, but often that puts a lot of pressure on ourselves, and then we become a bit miserable, and we can't be the best doctors if we're just grumpy and miserable and worried about our publications and this, that, and the other. So I would say, please just be kind to yourself. Life is a journey, and you should enjoy, even if you're not going through a great period in your life. Try and take some lessons from it, because as I've shown you, there were times when I wasn't particularly happy, but I learned a lot from it, and now I can share it with you. So that would be my final words of advice.
We had a question from Anthony. He's saying that is amazing and an honor to hear from you. And
Oh,
what is your advice to those whom, after losing the passion, but could not find it back like you did? Like, how can one identify the suitable specialty, especially with the extensive variety out there? So first about
I think it's about
yeah, losing the passion but not finding it back, and then after how choosing the specialty with the extensive variety out there.
so choosing the specialty comes with research. I think you just have to, get experience and do research in a number of different specialties, to really decide if it's for you and matching your personality. I think if you have lost that passion, then I'm sorry, you've lost it and you can't get it back. If you're speaking about your situation. I think if you've lost a passion in anything, then you shouldn't really do it. I think you need to take a break, like I did, and just don't put pressure on yourself. Just see where things take you. Experiment with loads of different things. Network, speak to people, and just trying to put so much pressure on yourself. It's okay to leave medicine. I think a lot of us, we pick a career and we think we just have to stick to it for the rest of our lives. There may come a point when, I don't know, I'm 40 or 50 and I decide actually I don't want to do medicine anymore. I want to, I don't know, travel. I don't know. I want to be a travel, write about traveling, be a travel blogger. It's okay to change careers. It's okay to leave medicine if it's not doing what it once did for you. If you're not having that passion, why would you keep doing something? Yes, it's not always straightforward to leave a career, because you may have commitments, you may have a mortgage, you may have a family to support, or it may not be that easy for you to walk away from because you've invested so much time. But I think it just comes back to, being true to yourself and thinking, a lot of people use this, if I wasn't here tomorrow, or if I knew I had X amount of days to live, would I be happy with what I'm doing now? Would I be okay? So I think we may not want to use death, but you see my point. I think, we have one life, and if you're not passionate, and if you can't find that and you can't regain that, then you really need to question if this is the right career for you, and if you're on the right path. So that's what I would say to that question.
Phoenix Med one, which you can also click subscribe. We have a bunch of videos as well. We're starting now, so click here. We have some of our previous webinars, some of our team members introducing themselves, which is great. So subscribe to our channel as well. And I had a question earlier about how people can get involved with Phoenix Med, and I just thought about sharing the our Facebook page, which you can see here. You can like the page, and we also have a group of Phoenix Med community for those interested. So this community is a more like closed community, and we have some events especially for these people, and we can network, so it's a great opportunity for you to meet new people, and we're here to support each other. So if you would like to be part of that, just send us a message, also ask to join the group.
One last thing I will say, everyone has asked me to do like vlogs, day in the life of a GP, which, like I said, when I'm at work, I'm at work. I don't like think of putting the camera there, but everyone wants to see that. So I'm going to be doing some day in the life of a GP. So you can follow me on my day in the life of a GP and see what I get up to. So I'll be doing that soon.
Oh, that's exciting. That's very exciting. Well, I just wanted to thank you on behalf of Phoenix Medic for such wise words of advice.